The questioning this morning will be led by Commissioners Benveniste and Commissioners Lehman. Commissioner Benveniste.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, sir.
I'd like to start first by commending our staff for an extraordinary, detailed 18-month investigation which has provided the detail which we have provided today to the American public. I want to say that nothing that we have found indicates anything but the highest commitment to duty and valor among the pilots and support personnel involved in the air mission on that infamous day of September 11th, 2001. By the same token, General Myers, our staff has found that NORAD and FAA were unprepared for the type of attacks launched against the United States on September 11, 2001. And so I would like to ask you, sir, whether you and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs were made available, were made aware of the available information during the Summer of Threat in 2001, which reflected the preparations by Al-Qaeda for a spectacular attack against the United States, and specifically whether the information in the August 6th PDB was shared with you or the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
We were aware. I think it started, some of this information started flowing, intelligence information, at the end of May. It continued through June, July, the August 6th memo. It talked, as I recall, about Al-Qaeda threat to United States, primarily overseas. It was focused primarily on the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, is my memory of that. And that threat reporting continued through those months, and we were certainly aware of it. But in fact, we even took action when, I think it was in July, we actually sorted some ships out of Bahrain because of the threat in the peninsula area. And that, as I recall, the estimate from the intel analysis was that it would take place either on the Saudi Peninsula, perhaps in Turkey. There was one mention I remember of Italy, actually. And then there was potential threats to the United States, but never including an aircraft.
Now, the PDB memo that I'm referring to specifically mentions FBI information of suspicious activity within this country consistent with the preparations for hijackings. Was that information shared with you?
Not information at least that I saw, other than what was contained in the Presidential Daily Brief Memorandum, which I think was the last couple of paragraphs or last paragraph.
Was information shared with you, General, with respect to the arrest of Mr. Zacharias Moussaoui, which occurred on or about the 17th of August, in which the FBI quickly came to the conclusion that Mr. Moussaoui was a suicide hijacker, an individual with jihadist connections who had sought and received some training on a commercial airliner?
I don't recall. I simply can't recall. I think I would have, but I don't recall.
Wouldn't that be something that you would recall?
Don't know, but pretty significant information, but I don't recall.
Had you received such information tying together the potential reflected in the August 6 PDB memorandum that was titled "Bin Laden Determined to Strike in the United States," together with this additional information, might you have followed up on a training scenario at the least, such as the positive force training scenario, where a hijacked plane was presumed to fly into the Pentagon, a proposal that was made and rejected in the year 2000.
Well, a couple of things. I don't know that we would have, because exercising alone is not enough. If you look at all, and you've looked at all the policy guidance we've gotten through the 90s into early 2000, 2001, all the policy guidance was that we treat terrorism primarily as a criminal event. And the role of the Defense Department was to defend our forces primarily. It was force protection, anti-terrorism, not counterterrorism. Counterterrorism responsibilities domestically were the FBI, externally were the CIA. There was an exercise, and this was, the idea was to stress the continuity of command, and the one you referenced there, but it was an exercise focused on Korea, and that's why the scenario was rejected, because it did not contribute to the exercise at hand. I can't answer the hypothetical. It's more, it's the way that we were directed to posture, looking outward. Those were the orders that NORAD had and has had for ever since the end of the Soviet Union, when we had, at that time, I think it was 26 alert sites around the United States, and we'd gone down to 7. So it would required more than exercising if you wanted to be effective, and it would have been not just the military, because civilian agencies had the major role.
Well, you've anticipated my next question. It might not be the entire answer, but it would be a start. Let me ask you whether that might not have stimulated an effort to determine the level of communications with FAA, which, as we determined on September 11, were abysmal. Would that not have also stimulated you? Had you thought about the information, had you received it, about an internal threat involving the United States airspace, involving the hijacking of commercial airliners by a suicide hijack?
Certainly possible, and you just can't take hypothetical situations and say what you would have done in hindsight. I mean, obviously, we got pretty good hindsight at this point. The communications between the FAA and NORAD were specifically designed for the hijacking scenario, but a hijacking scenario where NORAD's role was to track the aircraft, if it crashed, to report the crash site, but certainly not to take. It was not, the understandings and the policy at the time was not that these were hostile aircraft, other than the fact they'd been hijacked. So it was to track that and help the FAA track that, and those were the rules that were standing at the time. If we'd had definitive information, I think we would have probably taken steps to
I hope so.
to work that. But to my knowledge, we didn't have that, sir. That threat reporting continued through those months, and we were certainly aware of it.